My family, we're all from Ukraine, going many generations back. According to the history of my family and millions of other, you know, Jews who are fleeing that part of the world, like Ukraine and the pogroms, there's a lot of there's a lot of massacres that are being committed there, in terms of like the pogroms. And during, World War II, something like 1.5 million Jews were killed in Ukraine, and the majority of the people that are, firing the guns, they weren't the Germans, they were the locals, in terms of the local Ukrainian police and collaborators and everything. So so I guess the reason I'm saying this is you have all these people. So anyone who's come to this country, whose family is from there, experienced that in one way or another, whether it was like the pogroms, whether it was, the Holocaust, Babi Yar, rampant, communism and anti-Semitism. Not even so much communism, but mostly like anti-Semitism. Like my mom, she couldn't go to law school. She couldn't become a lawyer in Ukraine because she was a Jew, right? And that affected a lot of people. So for me, coming to the United States in Chicago in the 70s and growing up, I was surrounded, I grew up in an area of Chicago called West Rogers Park. And then it was Lincolnwood. So they were kind of like next to each other. And the majority of people there, they were mostly, immigrants from, like Russia, Ukraine, I mean, Serbia, Croatia, Greece, Korea. So, we were all growing up, but the Russian speakers who were from like Ukraine and Latvia and Lithuania and Belarus, no one ever identified us as Ukrainians or Belarusians or Russians. We were all Russians across the board. Okay. And whenever somebody would ask us, what are you? We'd be like, oh, we're Russian, we're Russian, we're Russian. And, the amount of like abuse, I guess, or bullying that I got, well, I really don't call it bullying. I call it setting the stage for me learning Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Thai boxing. But for me, the amount of like, you dirty Russian that I heard since I was a little kid was nonstop. You dirty communist, you dirty Russian, go back to Russia. People would call me, they would call me Urine because my name is Yuri. I mean, I'm laughing about it now, but that's, the reality. People would say things to me like, hey, Yuri, go to a cliff and drop off.